Ricky Gervais, you're up for an Emmy now, and this year you're up for Derek as the final wrap-up movie version at the Emmys, and you got rid of that Jim Parsons. You're out of that comedy category, and you're in movies. And according to the Gold Derby odds, you're pretty safe for a nomination for Best Actor and Best TV Movie. This is the end of Derek, though, isn't it now?
Well, this is well. Not only is it the end of Derek, this is going to be such an anticlimax when I don't get nominated for anything, and I'm on the internet answering the question about how good it was that I got nominated. This is a dangerous game. This is like
it is, because look what we learned last year, Ricky, which was we thought I was among those predicting you were going to certainly win the Emmy because of the strength of the episode that you submitted for Derek. And you know, this is what Chris and I, who's joining us here, are baffled by at the Emmys every year. When you won Best Actor for Extras, you submitted the Ian McKellen episode, and that was really outstanding, very funny, and you beat all those heavyweights like Steve Carell and Alec Baldwin because of the episode. The judges watched it. But if the judges watched the episodes last year, I don't know how you could have lost. And what do you have any perspective on all this? In other words, sometimes the episode matters, sometimes it doesn't.
I don't know. You can't predict. Everyone's different. That's the beauty of it. I mean, I can see why they might have liked the Ian McKellen episode. Not only was Extras about the industry, but he skewered acting. His was the episode that most delved into the pretension and madness of being a thespian. So I could see why that, and his performance was, of course, amazing. Why didn't I win for? Because more people like Jim Parsons. I think that's the only way. That is the only answer.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Chris Beachum.
That's the only answer.
Chris Beachum, that's not the only answer. You pipe in here.
Well, I did help Jim pick his episode, as I have several years, so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, he picked Jim Parsons'
I
episode.
played both sides here. I picked you to win, but I helped Jim pick his episode.
Well, also, but it was easier for me to pick an episode because it's only a 6-to-1 shot for me to pick the right episode, whereas I think they do a few more. And let's not forget my track record as well. I've been nominated 21 times and lost 19. I mean, I even had the chance. How many people get the chance to do a losing speech? I mean, that was the amazing thing. I had the chance to do a losing speech. I don't know. I think my stuff is always an acquired taste. It's always quite fringe. It's always quite odd and challenging. I mean, my favourite episode I didn't put in because I thought maybe if they're sitting down to see what's funny this year, oh, he's murdering a dog. I thought maybe that wasn't the best one for me to put in. So I put in episode 6 where only a dad dies. So, fun and frolics all round. No dog died, just his dad. So I can see why they might have been confused. No canned laughter, a bloke shuffling around in a cardigan, things dying.
What we thought was so great about that episode, though, yes, that was sad at the end, and really touching moment with the bicycle at the end, but the whole date thing in the middle was hilarious.
Well, yeah, that was I suppose that was one of the few real comedy sketches in Derek, because that was more like the stuff I did in Extras and The Office, and Derek is much more of a real documentary, more emotional, more dramatic, and so I thought that probably was the most comedic and crafted piece possibly in the whole series. So yeah, I think I'd put in the right episode, but you just never know. And And joking aside, I know I put in sad things and challenging things and dramatic things, but I think at the end of the day I'm celebrating it. Everything is a celebration. Even with his dad dying, he was celebrating his dad's life. He said it was good. It was good. I had a dad and he had a son and he loved me. He told me, and then he died and he was smiling. So it was still a celebration. It was still. You can still smile in Derek, even though it's sad. And I think I sneak that into all my comedy and drama. It's always a bit of a celebration, really. We create our own heroes and villains in fiction, and certainly for me, that my heroes get rewarded, or some peace of mind, and my villains either get their comeuppance or they change. Redemption is one of the greatest tools I use. I've used it all the time because it makes us feel good, and I think that's what comedy does at its best. It makes us know we're all right. We laugh at our own flaws. We go, "Oh, I do that," and we're all right. If you can laugh about yourself, you're probably going to be okay. And that's what humor's for. Humor is to get us through life. That's the only reason it's there. And that's why I don't get when people say, "Oh, you shouldn't laugh about bad stuff." That's what you should laugh about. That's what humor's for. It's to get us through bad stuff. You don't need to laugh about good stuff. It's already good. So I defiantly take on taboo subjects. I want the audience to go to places they haven't been before, and I take them by the hand through a scary forest, and they come out the other side. That's what it is, fiction. It's role play for the soul. It takes you to all these different places that you might not go in reality, and you come through them, and it trains us. To a certain, that's what fairy tales are for kids. It teaches them morality. That's what fiction's for. It lets them play out these emotions without it happening. I can still remember one of the most profound things that has ever happened to me in my life. First film I ever went to see was Jungle Book. And that was 5 or 6. My mum took me. I just remember it. I remember thinking the cinema had carpet up the walls. I thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. The carpet went up the walls. And I sat there and I had a Coca-Cola and popcorn or sweets. And I watched this film. And when, I'm sorry, there's going to be spoilers in this. When I thought Baloo was dead, I was weeping. My mum said she thought I was going to die, but I was weeping. And then when he wasn't dead, euphoria. The greatest feeling in the world. And that's life. That's life. That's what fiction can do. It's got to make you feel. I think it's got to make you feel something. Anger, disappointment. But it's got to make you feel something. And I went to school the next day, and we were saying what we did yesterday, and I told the teacher I went to see a film. And then I was allowed to tell the class. I soon had them doing parts. And after a long time, the teacher said, "Well, we've got to stop now, Ricky." I'd taken it. Imagine them being told to shut up by a teacher. I was so, being a director. I remember as well, on the way home, I said to my mum, "Will I care when you die?" And this must have been a tricky one for her. And she said, "Yes, you will care, but you'll be old enough to cope with it." And I thought, that's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
There are some rules. There are
Hmm.
some rules to what you write, and one of them became very obvious to me suddenly while watching this Derek finale, and that was there's a moment when Hannah, when they're all trying, spoilers here if you haven't seen it here, there's a moment they're all trying to push this one character out finally, this troublemaker, this jerk, and and they're all trying to get rid of him except Derek, and he's putting up a fight. And me, as the audience, is thinking, Derek, hush up, just get rid of this bum. And Hannah turns to the group and says, everybody stop. Derek is always right. And wow, that just hit me in the gut when she said it, because that is a kind of ongoing truth of that even though he seems to be a simpleton, this man gets it.
Well, I mean, he's not a simpleton. He's just, I think we've got to make a distinction here between, academic intelligence and emotional intelligence, and he's got it. And also, I've always been clear that wisdom trumps everything, because it's knowing what you don't know that makes you wise, and listening and knowing that someone knows better. And he's wise because he's listened to wise people. The elderly has taught him everything because they've lived longer. And also, as Kev says, he takes the only shortcut that you can, and that's kindness. Because if you always just act what's best for other people, you won't really go that wrong. It's when you start acting selfishly and you come up against conflicts of interest, and you tell yourself this is the right thing to do, but really it's not the right thing to do, it's the best thing for you. Whereas if you're always acting selflessly, you're probably right. Now, we come up with problems with that, because it's not right, practically right, to call an ambulance for a baby bird. But I defy anyone to hate someone who did. It's that
Derek does that, of course.
Yeah, he went, well, this is the emergency here, this baby bird. And Hannah did want Kev out, and she brought that up, and she said, Derek's not perfect. And she didn't say that Derek's always right thing until she asked Kev to give her away, and Kev says, this is Derek's idea, isn't it? And she went, yeah. And he said, are you okay with it? And she says, well, Derek's always right. And I wanted it to be ambiguous. I wanted it to be, she means it, he is always right. It's slight sarcasm, like, well, everyone seems to think he is, so let's go with that. I'm keeping out of it. And I also wanted it to be an apology that she was embarrassed about, like, Derek's always right, like, sorry, I was wrong. And it's great that I've got actors that can do that line with all those things in it, because that's how we talk. Our body language gives away our true feelings, so we try and hide our body language. We say things that we might not mean. We say things out of embarrassment. We say things that we're lying, and it's hard to get that across in acting, because it's hard to remember all those things. When you've been given the lines and you've been told where to stand and you've done it 30 times, it's easy to forget how to do it if it were real. And so I've always been a slave to realism. So I've always tried to get in that ambiguity of action and body language. I mean, Brent was a study in body language for me, because he was being watched. It was a fake documentary, and I had to make sure people understood why he was acting like that, because he wanted to be famous and he didn't want to be caught out. So when he's talking to someone and he gets caught out, he looks like he's been caught out. So all that's was when Jennifer's giving a go, so have you fired her? He goes, yeah. And his eyes, he looks at the camera and goes, people are watching this, I'm being embarrassed. So you feel it, you try and feel it, and I think that's the greatest thing about a fake documentary as opposed to, I Have God stuff, is that when the players in the piece look at you, you feel their pain. You feel it. You know, ooh, it's cringy. When David Brent looks at you, oh, why is he looking at me? I can't help him.
Chris, do you have a question?
Well, I do. You know, all three of these series that we talked about, with The Office and Extras and now Derek, you've competed in the comedy categories at the Emmys, and then for the final special, because there weren't, multiple episodes, you've competed in the movie categories, and that's where you'll be this time. I guess I got a couple of questions here. One is, why such short runs for your shows that end in the specials, and what do you think about? I mean, these movie categories. I mean, you're up against a lot of emotional, emoting, dramatic kind of stuff. What do you think about competing in that category?
Well, I mean, I don't think anything, because I don't assume I'm going to win anyway, and I don't think it matters that what you compete in. If you start saying, if you start trying to manipulate the best category to win in, it doesn't count. It just doesn't count. So I'll go in this category. I've got more chance. Well, then it's worth less. If you've got more chance at something, it's worth less. So I don't care. I don't care if they. I don't care. Why do I stop things early? Just for the good of the project, I think. But now I've just realised also, because I've got the attention span of a toddler. Lots of reasons, really. I've got lots of ideas I need to do before I die. So I just want to do one for a long time.
Along those lines, this question came to me because I'm talking to somebody tomorrow who just had a finale of a series after many, many years. And I'm going to ask her this question, but I'll ask you, since you've done it 3 times now. What's it like physically, emotionally, mentally, leaving behind a character? You've had to do it 3 times. Saying goodbye to a character, somebody you like.
Well, yeah. Emotionally, it doesn't count, because emotionally, all you're saying goodbye to really are the real people involved. You're saying goodbye to potentially the cast, but you can work with them again. You're saying goodbye to the crew, but I use the same crew I've had since Extras. So saying goodbye to a character, well, you're not really saying goodbye to him, because they exist in fiction. They exist. What I'm missing is playing them. But then, if you haven't killed them off, then you can. If I wake up in a sweat one night, crying, going, I want to play Derek again, I will. But I know it's best for the project that I leave it at the moment. But never say never. I'm bringing David Brent back for a movie. It's been 15 years, and it's very different to The Office. It's what he's doing now, and that's what excited me. The excitement was, it was a long time, so what would a man like that be doing now? He wouldn't be working in an office. They wouldn't be there. The office wouldn't be the same. It'd probably be shut down. The business had probably been, but now it's even funnier, because now with David Brent, he's repping, he's selling toilet products. He's not happy, but he's telling himself he's happy. But he's never really given up that dream of being a rock star. And so when he gets approached to do this documentary again, he uses it. He cashes in his pension. He takes time off, and he gets a band together, and he puts a little tour together, which is abysmal and it has its own problems. And he thinks this movie is like Scorsese following the Rolling Stones round. But it soon comes to light that it's a sort of Where Are They Now file, and it's about one of the early docu-soap stars like David Brent, who had their 15 minutes of fame, and now they can't get it back. So again, it's tragic again, but it's funny, and it's moved on enough. Documentaries moved on, TV's moved on, society's moved on, because when I first did The Office, things like X Factor and Pop Idol and everything being on YouTube, everything being clickbait, everything that a celebrity ever does, is released by all these. Look what so and so did on last night's chat show. All right, I mean, everyone wants to be a singer. We're going to run out of doctors. So now there's a generation that think all you have to do is queue up and get Simon Cowell to see you, and he's going to give you £1 million, right? And you know, it's worse than it's ever been. So it was right for that. So I do sort of miss them, and I do think, oh, am I stopping too early? But I've never regretted stopping too early because I can always go back to it. But I never want to go, I shouldn't have done a third series. I shouldn't have done a fourth. Oh no, everyone hates me. You know, I couldn't. I've run out of ideas. Oh, this is the same. This is the same as episode 19. Yeah, and people don't really know what they want. I think a lot of people do a third series because it's, you know, financially it's great. They might really enjoy it. They might have a team of writers, which I don't use. You know, they might have read everyone on the internet saying, I can't wait for the third series, but people don't really know what they want. All the people that are saying, I'll do a third series of Derek, I'd do a third series of Derek, and they go, yeah, it was all right. I preferred the second.
I've got to ask you, what went through your mind when the Golden Globe nominations came out this year and you got one? And Chris and I, and people at Gold Derby who follow this, were really wowed because this was the first nomination you got from them since the whole hosting thing. So year one, you really skewer these people, and everyone says, haha, it was one of the great career-defining moments for you. And then you said publicly, before they had invited you back, that you were going to come back the next year, and then HFPA, if you recall, issued a release saying, nice try, Ricky, ha ha ha. But then they came around to the idea of really having you back and said, this is really great, and then you came back twice. But you had not been nominated since then. So what the nomination told us when it came through this year was, they like me, they really, really like me. What went through your mind?
I don't know really. I'm not one of these people that think that because I didn't get nominated the year before, it was because I upset him at an award show. I think that would be sour grapes. Even though Philip Burke, when I introduced him on stage, when I said, "Your president, I've just helped him off the toilet and kept his teeth in," he came out and said, Ricky Gervais will never get nominated for another Golden Globe. But I hope he was joking. But no, I don't really care. I don't want to work out what gets me nominated, because if it was that easy, again, it wouldn't mean anything. If I thought, if I wrote this type of thing, it's got more chance of getting. I mean, I've spoofed that. I spoofed that in extras. You know, when I made Kate Winslet say, you know, do a Holocaust movie and guaranteed an Oscar.
And that's what happened later on.
And then she did one and got. Oh dear. But no, I think if you're sitting down and you're thinking of a new project, and you're going to write it, and you're going to direct it, and you're going to spend a year writing it, and then you're going to film it, then you're going to be in it, and you're going to take all the flack for it, and you're going to do chat shows to win or get nominated for a Golden Globe, you've got your priorities wrong. You've really got them all wrong, because then you won't get nominated. And I think you mustn't take it too seriously. It's fantastic to be nominated. It's brilliant. When I got nominated for the Emmy, I nearly cried. When I got nominated for Golden Globe, I nearly cried. But I wouldn't have cried if I hadn't, because, you know, there's 1,000 shows a year. Why would you think that? Why would you think you're in the top 4 shows of the whole year? It'd be madness. It would be madness to even think that. You know, you mustn't. You just mustn't. It'll destroy you. It will destroy you. But hey, listen. Good luck to Jim Parsons this year.
Now that Chris, I'm going to give you the last question here. Go ahead.
Well, could I ask? I want two. They're totally different, but I just both of them. Since we're on Globes, you took this 3-year break, while Amy and Tina hosted, but they're not coming back. Was that a break? Would you come back and host?
I love the idea that it's my job, but I went on holiday for 3 years and gave.
Well, that's what Lily Crystal did on the Oscars.
I love the idea of that.
Off and come back.
That's great. Yes. Yeah, I'm coming back to work. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to one day. Such fun. That's all I do it for. I try my best, and but I can't think of anything more fun for a comedian. And that's what I am at the Golden Globes. I'm a comedian. I'm not an actor. I'm a stand-up. That's why I'm a stand-up.
Well, I love the audience reaction, though, especially after the first year. They didn't know what you would do the first year. But that second and third year, it's almost like you could see people in the audience like bracing themselves in their chairs, like, uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah. Well, I think that, the first year, they didn't quite, they said, why is this guy, why have we invited a stand-up to ruin our party? Why is he saying awful things about us? And then, year 2 and 3, they went, oh, I get it. He's telling jokes. He's not trying to undermine the moral fabric of America. He wants us to laugh. And that's all I wanted to do. What did I say that was so bad? 3 years in a row, I went out on prime time network television across America. I didn't break any laws. Do you know how strict the laws are there? So it couldn't have been that crazy. I didn't say anything that bad. It just seemed like I did. And I made a decision when I did it 3 years in a row. Do I pander to the 200 people in the room or the 200 million people watching around the world? No contest. Not for a stand-up.
Would you do the Oscars, because the host always gets skewered there. Neil Patrick Harris, a veteran, never fails hosting a great show, got crucified this year. It was just terrible to watch.
What do you mean he got crucified? Who, by the press?
By the press and the blogosphere, yeah.
What are they saying?
They just said he was terrible. They just they didn't like the show. They didn't like him. They didn't like his shtick.
I didn't see it, but you can't win though, can you?
No, that's the problem, yeah. But at the Golden Globes, I don't think the pressure's on. I think they accept the fact that it's a party. Everyone's sitting at tables. They're having a drink. They're having a dinner. They're chatting with friends. And I think it's a different expectation there.
I think it is.
It's a unique situation for the Oscars. You can't, in the last 10 years or so since social media, you can't hardly host that show and get good reviews.
No, well, that's true. But the problem is, I'd rather get bad reviews for doing it my way than try and please people and get bad reviews for doing it their way. So I'd always do it my way, and then I can live with myself. If I did the Oscars and I tried to tone it down or tried to please the people that don't like me, I'd never forgive myself. So if I did the Oscars, it would be exactly the same as the Golden Globes, and then I can take the hate.
Well, let's wrap it up there. Ricky, thank you so much, and good luck at the Emmys. And we love the fact that you really get show business awards and you get them in the proper spirit.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.